There are moments when a woman is standing only a few feet away from you, and somehow she manages to tell you almost everything without saying anything at all. Not with obvious flirting, not with perfect words, but with tiny things most men dismiss because they don't seem important enough. And sometimes, those are the moments that stay with you for years. You lie awake wondering if you imagined it, if she was simply being friendly, if you missed the one chance that quietly appeared and quietly disappeared. If you've ever carried that question longer than you'd admit, you're not alone. And before we go any further, if these conversations help you make sense of the things people rarely explain, consider subscribing. It helps this community grow, and maybe it helps another man stop blaming himself for things he never truly understood. Now, there's something strange about attraction. When it's genuine, it often becomes quieter instead of louder, especially for someone who has something to lose. Many men grow up believing that if a woman likes them, she'll make it obvious. Sometimes she will, but in many cases, feelings don't make people bold. They make them careful. Imagine this. You're talking with her after work. Nothing dramatic is happening. Other people are walking past. She's laughing with everyone else. Then you say something completely ordinary. Not a joke, not a clever line, just something honest. For half a second, her smile changes. Not bigger, softer. Almost like she forgot other people were around. Then it's gone. She looks away, changes the subject, and you spend the entire drive home wondering why that tiny moment feels bigger than the whole conversation. Because your mind noticed something your logic couldn't explain. People often reveal emotion before they decide whether they want to reveal it. It's incredibly brief, sometimes less than a second. And that's why it's easy to miss. Not because you're blind, because you're looking for confidence. Real feelings often arrive wrapped in hesitation. That's the first misunderstanding many men carry. They expect attraction to look fearless. Sometimes attraction looks nervous. Sometimes it looks awkward. Sometimes it even looks like distance. Not because she's playing games, because feelings can make people protect themselves, especially if they've been hurt before, or if they genuinely care what you think. And that's uncomfortable to accept, because it means uncertainty isn't always rejection. But it also doesn't automatically mean attraction. That's where many men get trapped. They begin turning every smile into a promise, every glance into proof, every coincidence into destiny. The lonely mind is incredibly creative. It fills silence with stories. It builds castles out of almost nothing. If you've done that, please don't feel embarrassed. Loneliness doesn't just make people want love, it makes them search for signs that love might finally be possible. That's a very human thing. Still, the signs worth paying attention to are usually the ones that happen when she forgets to manage them. Not the dramatic moments, the unplanned ones. Like when she says goodbye, walks away, then turns around one more time. Not because she forgot something, just one more look, one more second. Almost as if leaving felt slightly harder than she expected. Most men notice the first goodbye. Very few notice the second glance. And that second glance, well, it has a habit of appearing again in places you wouldn't expect. That second glance isn't always about romance. Sometimes it's curiosity. Sometimes it's comfort. Sometimes it means nothing at all. But every now and then, it appears alongside something else. Something much harder to fake. Attention. Not loud attention. Not the kind that announces itself. The quiet kind. The kind that quietly follows you around the room before you ever notice it. Picture this. You're with a group of friends. Everyone's talking over each other. Someone tells a story. People laugh. The conversation moves on. Hours later, you're mentioning something completely different when she says, "Didn't you say your grandfather taught you that?" You stop for a second, because you barely remember saying it. It wasn't the main conversation. No one reacted when you mentioned it. Yet somehow, she remembered. That doesn't automatically mean she's attracted to you. Some people are simply thoughtful listeners. But when someone consistently remembers the small pieces of your life that everyone else forgets, it usually means you've become emotionally important in some way. Our attention naturally follows what matters to us. Not perfectly, not every time, but often enough to notice. What's interesting is that many women don't even realize they're doing this. It's not a strategy, it's something that happens quietly. Your favorite coffee, the song you once admitted reminds you of your childhood, the fact that you hate crowded places, the way you always take your watch off before eating. Tiny details, none of them impressive on their own. Together, they form a picture. And that's what attraction often does. It turns ordinary details into things worth remembering. Now here's where many men accidentally miss what's happening. They're waiting for compliments, waiting for obvious flirting, waiting for a clear confession. Meanwhile, she's already paying attention in ways that take far more emotional effort than saying, "I like you." Because words can be planned. Attention usually can't. But there's another layer, one that's easy to misunderstand. Sometimes she'll ask questions that don't seem connected. Not just, "What do you do?" but, "What made you choose that? What were you like as a kid? What makes you disappear for hours?" At first, these seem like casual questions. Then you realize she isn't collecting facts. She's trying to understand the person behind them. Most conversations stay on the surface. Weather, work, movies, plans for the weekend. Those conversations are safe. But when someone begins wondering how your mind works, that's different. People become curious about inner worlds when those worlds begin to matter to them. Still, even that isn't enough by itself. Some people are naturally curious. That's why context matters more than isolated signs. Human behavior is rarely one giant clue. It's usually several small clues gently pointing in the same direction. And there's one clue almost nobody talks about. Because it doesn't happen while she's looking at you. It happens while she's looking at someone else. Imagine another woman starts talking to you. Nothing dramatic, just a normal conversation. You aren't flirting, you're simply engaged. Out of the corner of your eye, you notice something change. Not anger, not jealousy like the movies love to show, just a pause. Her smile fades for a heartbeat. She suddenly becomes unusually quiet. Or she joins the conversation with a little more energy than before. It passes so quickly that if you blink, you'd miss it. Now, this doesn't automatically mean she wants a relationship with you. Emotions are rarely that simple. Sometimes people react because they're afraid of losing attention they didn't even realize they valued. Sometimes they surprise themselves. That's the fascinating part about human feelings. They often become visible only when something threatens them. Not because anyone planned it, because emotion has a way of revealing itself when control slips, even for a second. And what happens after one of those moments can tell you far more than the moment itself. It's often what she does after that tiny shift that tells the real story. Because emotions have an interesting habit. They don't usually disappear, they try to hide. Maybe you've seen it without realizing. Another woman laughs at something you said. The conversation is light, nothing unusual. A few minutes later, the woman you've been wondering about walks over and asks you a question that could have waited. "What are you guys talking about?" It's such an ordinary sentence. No drama, no accusation. She even smiles. Anyone watching would think she simply joined the conversation. Maybe that's exactly what happened. Or maybe something inside her wanted to be part of the moment before it drifted too far away. That's why attraction can be confusing. It often borrows the language of everyday life. It doesn't always announce itself. It slips into ordinary conversations, ordinary smiles, ordinary excuses to stay a little longer. And sometimes, that's exactly why men miss it. They're waiting for fireworks. Meanwhile, life is whispering. There's another moment I've noticed over the years. It happens near the end of conversations. You think everything is finished. You've already picked up your keys. Maybe you're halfway through saying goodbye. Then she suddenly remembers one more thing. "Oh, I forgot to tell you." It isn't always important. Sometimes it's about a movie. Sometimes it's about work. Sometimes it's something completely random. But if you pay attention, the topic isn't always the point. The extra minute is. When someone enjoys being around you, ending the conversation can feel strangely unsatisfying. So the mind quietly searches for one more reason to keep the connection alive. Just one more sentence, one more laugh, one more moment before silence returns. Most people don't consciously decide to do this, it just happens. And that brings us to something that many men misunderstand: silence. A lot of men assume silence means discomfort. Sometimes it does. But sometimes silence feels safe. Think about someone who makes you nervous in the worst way. You rush to fill every quiet second. You worry about saying the wrong thing. Now think about someone whose presence feels peaceful. Notice the difference. The conversation doesn't have to keep running every second. The quiet doesn't feel dangerous anymore. In many cases, emotional comfort isn't measured by how much two people talk. It's measured by how little they need to perform. If she's comfortable sitting beside you while neither of you says anything for a moment, don't rush to break it. See what happens. Some of the deepest connections begin in moments that almost feel empty, until you realize they weren't empty at all. They were full of ease. Then something else starts changing. It's subtle. She begins showing you pieces of herself that don't seem especially impressive. Not the polished version. Not the version everyone else gets. Maybe she admits she gets anxious before important meetings. Maybe she tells you about a mistake she still thinks about. Maybe she laughs at herself instead of trying to look perfect. People don't usually reveal those parts to someone they don't trust. Now, trust isn't the same thing as attraction. The two can exist separately. But when trust and attraction begin growing together, the conversations start feeling different. Less like interviews, more like shared space. You notice you're no longer trying so hard to impress each other. You're simply there. Ironically, that's the stage where many men panic. They think, maybe the excitement is gone. But emotional maturity doesn't always feel exciting. Sometimes it feels calm. And calm can be surprisingly unfamiliar if you've spent years believing love should always feel intense. Still, there's one quiet habit that often appears before almost everything else. It's so ordinary that most people never recognize it while it's happening. Yet once you see it, you'll never look at everyday interactions the same way again. It usually begins with something so ordinary that your mind almost ignores it. She starts finding reasons to cross your path. Not dramatic reasons, not the kind you could point to and say, "See, that proves it." Life isn't that neat. Instead, you notice little coincidences that keep happening. She walks past your desk when there are easier routes. She lingers after everyone else has left. She asks a question she probably could have answered herself. The first time, it means nothing. The second time, still nothing. But after a while, you start wondering if these moments are really accidents. Often they are just that. Sometimes, though, people create small opportunities because they're not ready to create big ones. It's safer to ask about your weekend than to admit they've been thinking about you. It's easier to borrow a pen than to say, "I was hoping we'd talk." Human beings are surprisingly creative when they want closeness without risking rejection. And rejection. That word carries more weight than most people admit. Many men believe they're the only ones afraid of hearing no. But fear doesn't belong to one gender. In many cases, women protect themselves differently. Instead of moving straight towards someone, they circle closer in ways that leave room to step back if they sense the feeling isn't shared. That's why attraction can look hesitant. Not because the feeling is weak, because the risk feels real. Now think about another quiet habit. You tell a story. Not an exciting one, just something that happened during your day. She laughs, but a few seconds later, she laughs again. This time at the way you told it, at the expression you made, at the tiny detail nobody else noticed. It isn't always the joke she's responding to. Sometimes it's you. The rhythm of your voice, the way your eyes light up when you're interested in something. People who feel emotionally drawn to someone often become fascinated by things that would seem completely ordinary to everyone else. That's one of the gentlest signs of growing affection. The person becomes more interesting than the performance. Then there's the way she looks at you when she thinks you aren't paying attention. This one is almost impossible to force. You're focused on something else. Maybe you're helping someone. Maybe you're explaining an idea. Maybe you're simply staring out a window for a moment. When you finally look back, she looks away just a little too quickly. Now, be careful here. Everyone occasionally glances at other people. That alone doesn't mean attraction. Context always matters. Patterns matter. One isolated moment doesn't tell a story. Several moments together. Sometimes they do. And there's another detail that often slips past unnoticed. Around most people, she seems polished. Her words come easily. Her timing is perfect. Then she's with you. She suddenly forgets what she was saying. She starts a sentence twice. She laughs because she lost her train of thought. You might assume she's uninterested. Sometimes the opposite is true. Strong emotions can interrupt the smooth version of ourselves, not because we've become less confident, because we're suddenly more aware of being seen. It's strange, isn't it? The very person we hope will see us at our best can be the one who makes us feel the least rehearsed. That's why chemistry rarely looks perfect. It often looks wonderfully human. A missed sentence, a smile that appears too early, a pause that lasts a little longer than expected. Those moments don't always point to attraction, but they often point to something real happening beneath the surface. And yet, out of all the signs we've talked about, there's one that quietly outweighs almost every other. It isn't about eye contact. It isn't about nervousness. It isn't even about how often she talks to you. It's about what she does when life becomes difficult. Because that's when hidden feelings have the hardest time staying hidden. Life has a way of stripping away the version of us that is carefully planned. When everything is going smoothly, people can choose their words, choose their timing, choose the image they want others to see. But when something unexpected happens, stress, disappointment, a long day, a quiet moment when the world finally slows down, that's often when the heart forgets to wear a mask. Maybe she had a difficult week. She doesn't tell everyone. In fact, she smiles through most of it. Then one evening she sends you a simple message. How's your day going? Nothing dramatic. No hidden poetry, just a question. The interesting part isn't the words. It's who she thought about when she needed a moment of calm. People often reach toward those who make them feel emotionally safe. Not because they're weak, because everyone needs one place where they don't have to pretend. Sometimes, you become that place without realizing it. And if that happens, don't rush to label it. Don't immediately decide it must be love, or that it must become a relationship. Human connection deserves more patience than that. There's another quiet moment that says more than people realize. You're speaking about something that genuinely matters to you. Maybe it's a dream you've never fully chased. Maybe it's a memory that still hurts a little. Maybe it's something you're embarrassed to admit. She doesn't interrupt. She doesn't rush to fix you. She simply stays with you. That kind of listening is rare. Not because people are selfish, because most of us are already preparing our next sentence before the other person finishes theirs. Real attention feels different. It creates space. And when someone gives you that space consistently, it usually means your inner world has become important to them. Still, none of these moments guarantee romantic feelings. And I think that's an important truth to leave untouched, because certainty is tempting. It's comforting to believe there's a secret formula. 3 signs, 5 behaviors, 1 unmistakable clue. Real people aren't built that way. Some women are naturally warm, some are naturally shy. Some hide their feelings so well that even they struggle to understand them. Others express interest openly and hope for the best. Every person carries a different history, different fears, different hopes. That's why the healthiest question isn't, does she definitely like me? It's quieter than that. How do I make room for honesty without forcing an answer? Because confidence isn't the ability to read every signal perfectly. Confidence is being willing to discover the truth without trying to control it. Ironically, that's what makes someone easier to be close to. You stop chasing certainty. You start paying attention. You stop trying to decode every smile. You become curious instead. And curiosity changes the way you see people. Maybe that extra glance wasn't an accident. Maybe the forgotten excuse to keep talking really did mean something. Maybe the way she remembered that tiny detail from months ago wasn't random after all. Or maybe it was simply kindness. The beautiful part is this. When you become emotionally present instead of emotionally desperate, you no longer need every interaction to become a love story. You begin appreciating what's actually in front of you. And strangely enough, that's often when people feel safest showing you who they really are. Not because you've learned some hidden trick, not because you've mastered female psychology, but because you've become someone who listens before assuming. Someone who notices without rushing. Someone who understands that the strongest feelings are often the quietest. Sometimes, the woman who's trying hardest not to show she likes you isn't waiting for the perfect line. She's waiting to see whether the man in front of her can recognize sincerity without demanding certainty. And if you can, you may discover that the answers you've been searching for were never hidden in grand gestures. They were always living inside the smallest moments, the ones most people never stop long enough to see.